Welcome, everyone, to the Mystic Revolution. We are in season 5, and this is episode 55. We're so glad you are here, and we've got a great conversation for you today. But before we get started, let's take a moment to do a little meditation. So go ahead and close your eyes. And just take a minute to feel the weight of your body in the chair that you're sitting in, or the sofa, or if you're sitting on the floor, whatever. If you're lying on the floor, feel the weight of your body being held by the earth. And see if you can drop your attention out of your headspace and just down into your root. Talk about energy centers and chakras. And so the root, just right down at the base, the bottom of your torso, right down in the lower base of your spine, just dropping out of the headspace, down into the body, down into the center of solid foundation. Right? This is your center of safety, stability, security. When we can embolden this, it helps us feel more solid, safe, and certain in the world. So go ahead and just allow this space to, envision a beautiful ball of light there. Let's do that, just to light it up. And sometimes if I have trouble keeping my focus there, I like to squeeze my butt cheeks together just to keep my awareness there. And then let's go ahead and put down a grounding cord. And if you've been following us, you know what we mean by that. But if you're new, it's just the idea that from your root solid foundation, you are imagining a tether that is tethering you, connecting you with the center of the earth, the heart of the earth, the heart of Mother Earth. And what if the earth is embracing you? See if you can allow the embrace of the earth to come up into you. Feel it, or tune into the idea of it. Gently being held in safety and security. And then we can tune up above, envisioning, imagining, tuning into the idea of a beautiful, bright sun that is your portal, your connector to source, is your source center. And whether you refer to source as universe, God of your heart, source, whatever it is, allow yourself to have a bright, beautiful sun just shining down on you. See if you can allow the energy of that, feel it just washing over your body. And we can even allow it to come into us. So let's see if we can bring a nice beam of it straight into the top of your head. Almost as if it's just pouring beautiful divine source energy, filling up your body, pouring it right into you. Letting it fill your body and seeing if you can tune into the idea of your body just holding the light of the divine, almost as if you are a being of light. And let's go ahead and see if we can now make our heart, or allow our heart to connect with the God of your heart, source energy, divine, the heart of the sky. With the heart of the sky, connect into your own heart. We'll just take a couple deep breaths in and out. And just allow yourself to hold this if you can. And if you like, you can listen to us with eyes closed and sort of holding this, or if you want to open them and watch us gab, go ahead and just open your eyes, just soft eyes, and see if you can just hold the connection, hold the sensation. Gently, gently opening. And here we are with the wonderful Wendy Wolf, who's going to guide us into our conversation of the day.
Thanks, Susana. Great meditation. So today we're looking at, and maybe more than today, some of the value that we can get in our everyday life, inside us, outside us, from our mystic development, from our psychic training and development. So one thing, I just want to start with a little story that leads us into what our intention was to talk about today, which is last night we did a wonderful meditation that we do, by the way, every month, the first Tuesday of the month.
And it's free.
Yes. And Susana was leading the second part, and I was really doing it. And she asked us to look for something that we get out of balance about. And that's really, that's a bother. That's a bother because we live in Winnie the Pooh land. So I looked, and what really showed up for me is that I get out of balance around my intentions of what I'm going to produce in the world, what I'm going to do. And either I go way over here and I'm overdoing it and I'm going into a little bit of force or effort or whatever. I'm driving hard on some things, or then I just drop the ball. So I was playing with being balanced about that, about holding steady. And what I saw is the first two things we're going to talk about today, which is I saw it. We were working with an infinity sign, not that it matters, but I saw that right in the middle of that infinity sign of balancing the opposites, it's about, for me, about this thing, which I'm not alone, I bet, in this whole too much, too little, is focus. Another word is attention. Another word is intention. These will all work together. They're different, but they all work together. And so I was noticing that that's really what to pay attention to. Keep my focus, keep my attention, keep my intention, which, by the way, is central to this practice. And we're always building our muscle on this in our practice. And this helps me stay in the game so that when it's time to put in to notice and the next part I wanted to talk about, to perceive what is and what's possible in this thing I'm going toward. Great, I can do that with focus. And then when it's time to choose and act and get it into the world, I can do that. So I thought that was a nice way to start this today, because it's applied. I practice these all the time. And it's also good to note, I'm not all the way grown up in this. I practice it. I have so much more of these things than I used to, probably you too, Susana. And yet it's oh yeah, let's apply it in real life. So what do you have to say so far?
Well, I really appreciate you bringing this up, because I've been thinking about it a lot in maybe a different way, just in terms of where I choose to put my focus. And there's the projects or whatever that I know are planned and are my intention, and I'm working on them, and I can get distracted. And then just even, behind that is what do I even start doing? And I think part of this is understanding, or for me, coming to the understanding that as a soul, I actually have a direction. If I would only use the tools to focus, remember to use them, to find my focus, to find my direction, I would settle into what I already know, which there is this path, there is this clear direction, and I don't have to flounder around or look at so-and-so over there who's doing this great thing. Oh, I should be doing that too. Or, wow, they did that. maybe you can, and some of you can relate, you start on something in earnest, you're like, oh, this is great. And then you sort of look at someone else's paper, or you look at your friend over there who's doing something, and you're like, oh, I should do that. And then it starts to just dilute what you're doing and then distract. Now, I'm not saying don't take inspiration, of course. And if you're moving along and learning, weave that in. But there's a difference between that and what you're talking about is getting distracted and then getting overwhelmed. And then, I'll just be honest, I've had moments when like, I can't deal with this anymore. And I just put it down, right? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Put it down.
Yes. Or I forget. It's like, this was really important the last 3 days, and now I just forget. So yes, and I believe this practice has helped me so much. You said, well, I'm just going to pull these apart a little bit. Like, so the first thing is that we have this practice of, as we just started with, of purposely connecting here now with
here now with
this earth reality, and letting our bodies be supported, and letting our true belonging of our bodies with this earth game, and this earth is real, and our souls given the foundations to open. It's really important. It helps us to do these things. And then we also practice centering, where we center in our head. And it's an everyday practice of focus. First being here, and then also seeing what is, and then also seeing what's possible, and then also choosing a direction.
Yeah.
And acting first here, and then into our world. And so that focus muscle is really helpful. And people are always saying things like, you can only chase one rabbit, right? Instead of like chasing my rabbit and my neighbor's rabbit, right? And that's kind of what I was hearing in what you said. It's just like, well, am I getting inspired in what I'm doing by these outside influences? Or I'm just like, oh, I want this, and I want this kid in a candy store. And like that separates our focus. I can't chase 6 rabbits all at one time. So that focus of first here and then where. And I have a friend who is a college athlete, and there's this picture of her driving down the center toward the basket. And I could see, it's just like she's this inexorable force. This picture is so evocative for me, because I see her just drive the basket. There's nothing else in the world. Yeah, there's people coming and going. She's got to get around and stuff, or like whatever. But that's it. It's just, there's only the basket.
Yeah.
And everything else is just something in the way to deal with. So anyway, anything else? I'd love to hear more about focus for you.
You bring up for your friend, it's the basket. It could be whatever it is, right? It's something you have to get done at work. It's a personal project. It's something you're doing with kids, whatever it is. Like there's the end point and where you want to be. And in using the tool, something that I've started doing is like connecting my own heart with that outcome, and then like using because sometimes it can be really hard to discern, right? Like what actually is relevant to this and what is not. And so in that focus, right, your focus is there, and then things come in, and that's when you can be like, oh, that is actually relevant. I'm going to bring this in. Oh, that would be lovely for my family on this trip we're planning, whatever it is, to keep you on course. And I feel like some of the examples I'm sharing may be pretty simplistic or mundane, but when you are able to do this in day-to-day life without getting distracted, then it obviously just maps to like maybe a bigger project, whatever it is, like writing a book or starting a business or becoming the best reader that you want to be. I mean, my gosh, there's so many books and things that you can learn from in the mystic world, and it's amazing and wonderful, and read as much as you can. And then at a certain point, it's like, okay, but you've got a direction here. You've got a place in this, and you get to own it, and it's relevant. So,
and I'll say, because we're talking about going toward a goal a lot in this focus picture. We focus here, and then we focus where.
mm-hmm.
And so I just noticed for myself, there's some things that I'm just really good at focusing on and just holding on to the end. And there's other things that I drop. And so it's just a fascinating thing. We don't go into the details. Like, we all have our details.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really good at staying on track about this. And this other thing, it drops. When I have a child in my care, that's the primary focus, period, full stop. Like, it does not waver.
Right.
But other things sometimes drop. I also just want to feedback. It's hilarious, Susana. It's like, it could be every single episode we talk about discernment and able to discern. I mean, it's a riot. It's like the theme of this show.
You're right. It is. And I think, those things that you dial in on, I mean, obviously in when you're caretaking a child, or there's your focus is there. But there's part of it where you get in that zone. We talked about being in the zone, right? And it is that presence. It's that presence. And, it's kind of an interesting mix of, you have your goal, whatever it is, if we're talking about goals, but then being in the present moment with what's happening right here now. And,
yes,
sometimes I'll work with clients and they'll be like, well, what do I do? And the answer is like, right here, right now, what's the very next step? That's it. That's it. How do I get there? Just tune in what feels like the next step.
Yes. Awesome.
And yeah. And that's where that discernment, what's my first step? Well, when you dial in, really, really dial in, you absolutely 1000% know.
Yes. And then we stay focused on that and not 3 steps ahead.
Yeah.
Like when we're hiking, like hiking is a good example when it's like there's branches and there's roots and there's rocks and it's up and down and maybe there's mud. They're most important to be here now with what is totally present. Also, then focus and attention on the next step. Is it slippery? Is it rocky? Whatever. And then also a little ahead. Like, we have to do these 3 things, or, we're not here, la, 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 we're Mr. Magoo, or we're tripping over the next root, or we're kind of falling off the edge of a cliff because we're not noticing what's happening with our body, bigger picture.
Yeah.
So we balance these, like attention, intention, focus, just in our everyday hiking around. And we do the same thing inside ourselves, and we do the same thing helping people heal, and we do the same thing, making dinner and making, having people to come to dinner, so they have to have the dining room table set, whatever, right? Like, it's all the same thing of these different ways to focus and be present and choose an act. So we'll go on and talk more about this and go on much deeper. But first, break.
Thank you, We Are Historically, for your conscious human apparel. Shop online at wearehistorically.com.
Hey everyone, just a friendly reminder that on the first Tuesday of every month, we hold a Mystic Revolution meditation, and you're invited. Just go to our website and you'll find the link. We look forward to seeing you then.
Raise your vibration and energize your life with specialized Fibonacci tuning forks that deepen meditations and empower self-healing. Get your vibrational sound tools for personal enhancement at energybodytuners.com.
Welcome back to Mystic Revolution.
So we're sort of talking about how the tools can help. I want to bring in the extrasensory perception in this, because obviously that's a part of it too. And I'll just drop back to conversations we've had many times before. The Be Here Now With, that is the place to be for your heightened senses to gather the most accurate information.
Yes.
And if your endeavor includes this, right, with the tools, you can turn it up, you can turn it down in the moment. You can choose when to use these things, use these faculties to fuel whatever it is you're doing. And, for some people, this could be an added distraction. Like, well, I should tune in and like, I'm noticing that thing over there. And this is where discipline comes in. Just as we aren't going to pay attention to every little thing that's going on around us when, right. Same with the heightened sense stuff that comes in.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that maybe to other people seems invisible, but to you, because you're sensitive to these things, because you're built this way, I mean, they're just there. So being disciplined, well, first of all, owning, okay, this happens to me. I see this stuff, and or I've cultivated this to be a part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then really deciding to use it in a way that works for you. Don't use it, not using it all the time, using when it works for you, knowing that you can turn it up and can turn it down. You can turn it off totally if you want, and you can just open up the floodgates if you want. Harkens back to a conversation where I was having with someone, and they're like, so you can, like, you see energy and you can see kind of, sense things about people. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, so do you, like, what about that person over there? What about that person over there? Like, what's going on with them? And I'm like, I don't do that. It's too, one, it's an invasion of privacy, but two, it's none of my business, but two, it's too overwhelming. I don't do that. And it's a distraction. It takes me off of my game and my focus. And if, I am asked, maybe, but only, and, consent, we've talked about that. But you also have to be able to give honor yourself and your own consent, right? Like, what are you going to consent to take in, and what are you going to consent to put in to your field of focus?
Yes. Thanks, Susana. And there's a lot of people feeling overwhelmed just being in the world or walking down the street. And it's pretty straightforward to be just like, I'm turning most of this down. I don't need to know what they're all thinking or feeling or wanting or needing, or I could just turn it down. And then what I usually do is I put a little bell or whatever in my system to alert me if I need to know for my own well-being, or someone really, really needs help.
Yeah.
Then I put a little bell. So like, oh, okay, I will pay attention. But it's just like, you walk down the street, you don't usually say hi to every single person and how's your day and talk about the weather.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get anywhere. And it's the same thing with our spiritual senses.
Yeah.
So that's just so important. And also this whole overwhelm, like we both work with empaths and stuff, like how they're feeling as we're walking down the street or going to a party is none of our business. And it's not necessary to know. It's not helping us. If it helps us, we can tune in and be like, oh, good. They want this. That's helpful to know. But otherwise, as we turn all that down, and we're not going to talk how right now, but it's not that hard. It takes intention.
Yeah.
If you can do it with intention, great. And if you can't, we have the inner tools to help the intention.
Yeah, absolutely. I know so many people like, my nervous system is fried. And I was there. I've been there.
Yeah.
This helps with that so much.
Yes. There's physical stuff too. Like I read the news.
Yeah.
Because then I have control over it.
Mm-hmm.
I do not watch the news.
Yeah.
I never. Like, why would I? It's just a lot of energy, a lot of, they're trying to catch our attention. If it leads, it bleeds. And who needs it? Like, I don't need to know or see that. What I need to know, I read, and then I clear and I go on with my life. So it's just an example of the many things that we can do.
Yeah.
If we have a friend who, every time we talk to them, we can't get off for 2 hours because they don't stop talking. Well, maybe we don't talk to them every day. We have choices. And it's just same on the physical, on the energetic. It's just all, what is our focus? What's our attention? How are we going to bring our intention into reality?
Yeah. And I'm going to add the discipline part of it. I mean,
yes,
it's a practice. It's not always easy the first few times.
Mm-hmm.
I still have things that I'm working on where I've got to bring down the discipline on it. As we grow and evolve, then we evolve into new places where the practice deepens and the discipline deepens, et cetera, et cetera. But the great news is that it does evolve with us and
yes.
as we need it. Yeah.
Yes. You say discipline is a word. I very often talk about, like the soul gym, we're building inner soul strength and endurance, just like in the physical gym, balance, flexibility. We build these things. These things show up as courage. These things show up as what I choose matters. So that's all together. And one other word that you brought up relative to these that we talked about, Susana, is concentration.
Mm.
And it's kind of a combination of what we just talked about. But is there anything else you want to say about concentration? Because that's like the word people use sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think we had an episode a while back where we talked about, when you have the practice of be here now with, it really opens up to being more of, in the zone or in alignment. And that has helped me with my concentration. Now, I've never been diagnosed with any attention deficit disorder, but looking back when I was a kid, I probably did. And I'm not saying this is a cure for that, especially if it's a clinical diagnosis. I will say that my concentration has improved like 10,000% since I started doing this work. And it's kind of a miracle, actually. And so, yeah, I guess that's what I would say about concentration.
Cool. Yeah. And in conclusion, I'll say I've always had a lot of what people call concentration or focus. But I'll tell you, I was focusing on the wrong things. My attention was in the wrong places, like not to put a judgment on it, but my intentions sucked, right? Like I didn't understand that I was in charge of these things. They just were grabbed by whatever they were grabbed by, or some shoulds or some values that weren't mine. And it, made me miserable. Because I took my tenacity and I drove it into the ground with stupid things. And now, like, I have a lot of choice about, and informed choice about what to do with what the concentration, focus, attention, intention.
Well, I think that's really important. And when you were talking about, you said focus on stupid things. I don't know that they were stupid. I think they were there for a reason.
They were.
Okay, they were.
They made really bad fruit.
Okay, yeah, right. And when people get focused on other people's drama or other people's things, and worrying about what other people are doing, I mean, it's so enticing to want to do that. It's so enticing, especially if you've got judgment running through you. It's almost automatic that that's going to happen. And that really should just be a red flag of like, okay, let's have some discipline and stop that, because that is a focus on something stupid. I'm just going to be honest. I mean, if you're focusing obviously on caretaking someone, if you're problem solving for someone, if it's something like that, but I'm talking about sort of when we get caught up in the judging or the drama, or basically in other people's business that isn't really ours.
Yeah.
Then it can be can be a huge distraction.
Yes.
What I've learned, and maybe other people relate to this, it's a distraction from something that I need to tend to in myself.
Yes.
And reeling that in, coming back to be here now with, right, finding my area of focus. And maybe it is in some way helping with this situation, but I can't know how I can do this until I rein that back in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Susana. Next time we'll be going more into like what we mean by soul work and what we talk about with the inner tools and stuff. So look forward to that.
See you next time. Oh, no, we're going to do a quick meditation out before we leave. Let's do a quick, just a quick grounding and centering and meditation out. Go ahead and close your eyes again. And let's see if we can find that space where we started. Connecting with the earth, being held by the earth, dropping down into the root. You know, when we are rooted, when we are grounded, that is a great way to come into the present moment. Coming into the present moment, grounding in the moment, being here now with, here we are, allowing the earth to hold you in it, getting the help from the earth in holding you. And then tuning into that bright sun above, allowing your heart to connect, your heart, your soul, to connect with the divine. And even just from this simple practice, you can start to find your inner guidance. You can start to discern what is necessary, what is not, and lessen some of that overwhelm to find better focus. As always, take what works with you, works for you, leave the rest behind. We send all of your energy back to you. And I send energy back to Wendy. And I call back my own energy. That's a little trick that we do about energy separations. We'll talk more about that. For now, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Mystic Revolution.
Thanks so much for playing with us. Please support Mystic Revolution by liking and sharing our show.
And sign up to get notified when new content is available. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Have a happy always.
Join us for our monthly Mystic Meditation on the first Tuesday of the month at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time.
Click on the link in the description to get more information and join the Mystic Revolution.